Hey guys, it's Chris here from Chris's Creative Life, and I design workshops that help you create beautiful layouts from start to finish with easy to follow guides. And I have a fun layout we are going to create today. So this is from a past sketch that I've done. So this is sketch number 2. So if you don't have it, make sure to comment sketch. And I will send you the link after this and you can do it too. Okay, I'm going to add myself here. Oh, Deborah, you don't have sketch 1. I can do that too. If you guys comment sketch 1, I can send that link down here too. So today we're going to use, this is sketch number 2 and Isabella, because that's the featured collection this month, and we're going to create a super cute layout, I think, with puppy pictures. So I'm going to just shoot you down on my desk and we'll just get started. Okay, there we go. Okay, so like I said, I've grabbed sketch number 2 and Isabella's collection, and we are going to, first thing we're going to do is, because all of the pieces for Isabella that I have picked are kind of muted, and the background layer that I have is mink, I think we're going to do some splattering first. I totally should have put on my apron because we're going to use evergreen, which has got lots of pigment in it. So just let me grab my, because my t-shirt is white, so let's at least reduce the amount of mess that I will have on myself. Okay, so I'm just going to make myself a little bit bigger. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is, I have my stacks of pictures, I have my, so I used the Isabella image set to create my extra pieces. Oh, for sure. So that's what I'm going to play with for my accent pieces. And at the end, I'll show you the other 2 versions I've done of this sketch. So here are my pieces. But like I said, so my background pieces are mink, and I am using the lighter side. Oh, the camera did not like that. 1 second, it'll bounce back. It's just going to try and autofocus on something. Let me see if I can get back and focus here. 1 second. There we go. I'm going to leave these here for a second. So it tries to white balance the whatever's in its path. So because the mink has lots of like white in it, it is trying to balance it out and focus. So I have 2 pieces of mink, and I'm, like I said, I'm going to use the light side. And because everything was so muted, I wanted to just add a little bit to the background. So I've grabbed my evergreen shimmer brush, and okay, this one is super pigmented, so I'm going to do something to make it a little bit easier to clean up after. I'm going to put some of my shimmer brush on one of my blocks, and that's what I'm going to use to splatter it onto my layout. Also, when you have a really pigmented color, make sure that your lid is on tight, because that's where you get leakage from. So I'm just going to actually clean it before I start. Okay, but you need to shake it to make sure you've got all the glitter going. Okay. So now I'm going to put it on my block because I want control over where this shimmer is going. Because like I said, it's got lots of pigment in it. And I'm actually just going to clean this up a little bit because I had lots come out. Okay. we're going to keep the baby whites very handy. I'm still going to keep this here just in case it tries to crazy autofocus. So I have a controlled amount on my block, and I'm going to flick it with the brush onto my layout. Now, for example, on this one, I know I only, because we're going from the sketch, I have very limited amount on the top and the bottom. So I just need a little bit at the top, a little bit at the bottom. Versus on this side, I'm going to do it all over because the paper is just at the bottom. And then we've got the photo mats. So like I said, it's evergreen. So we'll do my left side first. And I'm just going to do this first so it has a little bit to dry before we work on putting it all together. I'm just going to set that down there on my baby wipe. Okay, so I'm going to give this a few seconds to dry. So remember on this one, because I have more white space or mink space, I'm going to splatter on the whole thing. So this will just tie in those little bits of the Isabella. And I find by doing this, I have much more control over where my shimmer brush is going. Okay, before I put it away, I'm going to make sure this part is on tight and put my lid back on. I think what happens a lot of times when people are using their shimmer brushes is that you either expect that the lid needs to unscrew to come off, so you turn it and that actually loosens the barrel on the inside, or even just by, if it's tight, just by pulling on it, sometimes you can loosen this. So I always try and make sure before I put it away that it's on there good and tight. So now you can see it's much easier to just clean up this little bit of a mess, right? And I'm far less messy than normal. We're going to do the same thing in a second with some of the embellishments from the Isabella collection. Okay, so now there we go. We're letting this dry. I'm going to move my all-purpose. I'm just going to give it a little wipe and put it behind me, and then we'll start putting stuff down. Yes, I really like the block for using my, for creating splatter. And remember, you can do that with anything, right? So remember, this is my left one because it's got more stuff on it. If you want to splatter with watercolor paint, if you want to splatter with like re-inker, anything like that, it's an awesome way to keep it kind of corralled, we'll just say. Okay, so now we're going to start. I need to get something down on here so it stops trying to autofocus. So this sketch is awesome because it's got tons of photos on it. So we're going to start with the left-hand page, and like I said, I just kind of kept my splatter to the top and the bottom. And because I know that this part's going to get covered up anyway. So these are the pieces of Isabella that I picked. I picked this piece with the big floral and the lemons. Then, and all the measurements are on the sketch. And then this is a different piece from the Isabella. Oh no, it's the same actual piece as this one. And then I have sage for my thin piece. And then you'll see on the sketch, there is a 1/2 inch piece. And so for this version, I'm actually going to use the Bluebell shimmer trim for my 1/2 inch sections. So that is the plan. So let's start and get this nice big piece kind of centered. So I know I'm just going to line things up on my Versamat. And this is 6 inches. It says so on the sketch right here. So I'm just going to center this on my layout. So 3 inches from the top and 3 inches from the bottom. So this is handy. You could actually do this layout all with one piece of paper and your cardstocks, right? So it's a this is a very, very paper efficient layout. So for example, if you're a consultant, this would be great to do with like one of the bulk papers. Okay, so then on my sketch, I can see I have my wider strip. So I have these all ready to go. So I'm just going to add that underneath. And I'll add one on the top, and then we'll do our little run of okay, so now comes the skinny pieces, right? So instead of trying to add adhesive onto this skinny piece all the way along, I'm just looking at my tape runner and running it along the edge of the paper above, because I know I have something going below it. So if I have a little bit of extra adhesive, it's okay because it will be covered up. So then I can just add this nice skinny little piece of sage down here. And then I will do the same thing on the top. And you really want to make sure that you have the adhesive on the edges, because that is where a skinny script is going to lift up. So if you guys are enjoying the camps or the sketch series, don't forget that next week I'm going to be teaching sketch camp. And if you're not in and want to be in, just comment camp and I can get you registered. It's a free online event. I'll be teaching a sketch 3 ways. And that's the only place I'm going to teach it. I'm not going to teach it here at all. It's only going to be within the group. Okay, so now I'm going to add my piece of shimmer trim below. And I will just add a little bit of adhesive at the top, my mat here, to pull off the backing pretty quickly. I have lots of fun stuff planned for sketch camp. I was working on some of the stuff today and I'm feeling very happy. So it is looking good. Okay, so my top and my bottom. I'm just tapping the backing down on my adhesive there, and it makes it super easy to pull off the back of your shimmer trim. So also to you can absolutely request the sketch. I can't do them when I'm live anyway, but so what happens is I'll add a link in after and it'll just redirect you. And once you fill out the details, then the sketch comes back to you in an email. It's all set up like that. So I quite like that. Okay, so then for my accent pieces, for my photos and cardstock, etc., I picked out Bluebird. Like, how stinking cute is that puppy? She is so cute. Okay, so I have my pictures. I'm just going to lay them down and then we're going to do the other side of the page. Set it up. So this was when she became a Canadian citizen. So we had a fun road trip to pick her up. And I did my mats all different colors to try and like bring in all the different colors from around. And typically I don't know that this is something that you would think of to scrapbook with Isabella, but I thought I'm just going to show you you can do anything. Well, not anything, but you could do lots of things. So then I think I want these tighter because I have some embellishment clusters here we're going to add. So I, like I said, used the Isabella image set, and I do have a few tips to go with this. And I'm just literally, I just cut up a whole pile of stuff in the coordinating colors, and I'm not really sure how much we will use here, but so I used the evergreen, right? So the same as what we had, what I splattered my layout with. I have lemonade, oh sorry, lemonade, ballerina. Okay, it looks funny because I have actually put shimmer brush already, like clear shimmer brush already on the ballerina so that it would dry. Then for down here, I have a whole bunch of stuff. So I pulled off the title Enjoy, and we're just gonna see how I'm gonna lay this down here. Okay, I'm just gonna read Deborah's. I'm just finding and trying to decide what papers I'm gonna use for Monday's sketch camp. Ah, there you go. So on Monday, I'm going to teach my sketch with Wander, but people are free to use whatever they would like. And I teach the same sketch 3 times in a week. So we will be rocking and rolling. It will be a busy week. Okay, so then I have this little pile here. We're going to figure out when it comes to adhering all of our stuff. So I did emboss the charcoal with one of our embossing folders. So I grabbed the spring embossing folder just to add a little bit more texture to the background to help set off the flowers. Okay, but first I want to now assemble the other side. I'm just going to set this aside. I should be able to get both into my screen. Just moving these 2 pieces out of the way. Okay, I do want to talk a little bit about the Isabella image set while I start to assemble the other side, right? So we're going to do this side now, my right hand side. And I'll just put this up here in front of me. So these flowers, I know lots of people had a lot of problems cutting the flowers in the Isabella image set. So I'm going to tell you just my few tips because I did actually have to cut them more than once. Okay, so the 1/2 inch section runs across the bottom. So again, I'm going to take my shimmer trim and run it right across the bottom of the layout. They are very intricate cuts on the flowers and the leaves. So it kind of cuts like a very thin little border. They're doing something different, I think, in the way they're designing these pieces. But here are the tips that I have for you. So I did use, I had some problems the first time, so I did recut some of the pieces. And so I found this worked better for me. I used a new low tack mat, and I also cut with the mirror image on so that the cut marks weren't as visible, But also I'm going to say the way the images are set up, they're not meant to be made super tiny because then you just make it super hard for your Cricut to cut. Okay, so now I'm going to run that thin line of or run my adhesive beside the shimmer trim and not worry about trying to get it onto the back of my 1/4 inch piece. And then I did use adhesive sheets that are a little bit lower tack for adhering my 2 pieces together. You can get them on Amazon. I'll show you the package. And I found that easier than trying to worry about gluing them together and getting all the little pieces. So it's more like a dot adhesive. So this is it. So it's artist tack, and you just lay your shape on top of it. So I'll put this last one together, but it's just got little tiny dots, so it's not crazy sticky, but it's enough to adhere your image together. So you can see how thin those lines are. So this is probably the smallest that you should do it. I did make 2 flowers. My other ones are all smaller. But so my recommendation would be to not make them crazy small, because then that's super hard on your Cricut. So that is my 2 cents on that image set. Okay, so now on this side, it's just all photographs. And, oh, these are all the bottom row. I see what I did. And here's my top row. So again, on this layer, I did emboss it just to make everything stand out a little bit more. And this will be a journaling box in a second. Okay, so I think this is the 6-inch mark. So I'm just going to put my ruler from one side to the other. And that is, I think, I'm going to just move them down like 1/4 of a, like, no, not 1/4, 1/8 of an inch. So yeah, that's what I think I'll do. So then I'll end up with 1/4 of an inch in the middle. Okay, so I'm just looking for my 6-inch mark here, and that's where I'm going to set my middle photograph. And I really did not go wild and crazy with like making sure my mats weren't the same or anything like that. I just made sure kind of that I didn't have 2 that were right beside each other that were the same. This is when we brought her home, and so this is Obi, and I think he was hoping she was just gonna leave again. He wanted like nothing to do with her, and she wanted to play with him. But I'm actually super glad that we got her. Oh, look at that, my extra pieces here. When we did, so that he wasn't, he was already a little old and cranky, but he wasn't too old and cranky for her. So I'm just lining this photograph up with the one below. Okay, and then I'm going to adhere just this mat here in the middle, and then we'll add our pieces on top. We had a lab before Obi, and she was such a good dog. I always wanted to get a second one, but the kids were so small that it just, the timing was not right. So this time we made sure that we got a second one when Obi was still young enough that he wasn't super cranky, and that he wasn't that he was still able to like train her. So I'm going to use this as my journaling block. So I'm just going to quickly do that. So you could use a PML card, or you can make your own. It is totally up to you. So I'm just going to leave a bigger space at the top, and I'm going to go from the top down so that I'm not dragging my ruler through my pen. And I know like my printing height, and about 1/4 inch is a good amount between the lines for me. So this one is probably gonna be more than one page, and the second page for this will have more of the story with some of the photos from when we just picked her up. So, because it's a little bit of a longer story, it will not fit in this little tiny journaling box. But I'm just using the markings on my Versamat to line up my ruler and add my lines. So yeah, if you're not in camp, sketch camp, but would like to be, comment camp, and I will send you the link to the registration, and we'll get you going. Okay, so I'm just going to add my journaling box right here. Okay, and so on the sketch, right, it's got embellishment cluster and then embellishment. So all I'm doing is I'm replacing them with elements from the Cricut. So let's just see here. I think this goes up here. We'll add that like that. And of course I've got all sorts of noise going on today because the windows are open. It's beautiful outside. So of course now there needs to be a train on top of all the other noise going on. So actually I think I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to pop this up on 3D foam tape. So I just tried to make sure that I had some of the lemonade in each of the clusters. So like I said, I used evergreen, sage, bluebird, ballerina, lemonade, sage, ballerina, bluebird, and charcoal. So I'm gonna add this, so we'll just decide, because these are the elements that I have, I'm just gonna decide between the two clusters what I'm gonna do here. Okay, so then I want this flower over here. So you can see too that I've used that, well, so we've only had like 2 days of cool, and it's supposed to be like blistering hot again. So I was super happy to open the windows, even if it was for just a few days, a few hours, few days. Yeah, it's supposed to be 34 again on Sunday. So like I said, it is not, we're not cool for very long. So. And each of these little different Cricut pieces too, on top of being different colors, they kind of each have their own kind of texture too, right? So let's just glue some stuff down here so we don't lose it, the configuration that I want. So I just lay them down, make sure that's where I want them. And then I'm going to just add my adhesive. So with this little skinny sprig of berries, I am going to just add a little bit of adhesive onto the stem, but it will get sandwiched underneath here once I put the flower on top. So, and like I said, I did add shimmer brush to all of the flowers beforehand, so they had some time to dry. I will add it to the last big one when I pull it off the backing here in a second though. So I'm going to add just some thin 3D foam tape under these two big flowers, and it will kind of help anything also stay down. So, and by doing the light ballerina, I can do the dark, no problem. And you could totally see the contrast still. Okay, so now I'll just add some foam tape under here. And then each cluster too, at the very end, I will add bluebell sequins as like my little accent embellishment to bring them all together. But I just wanted to kind of get everything blocked in for you so you could see. Okay, so there we go. That's how the right hand page is going to be. Okay, so now we just need to quickly put together the other side. There we go. Okay, and of course you could completely reverse them too if you wanted. So the pages, I mean. So if you wanted to reverse the pages, I would maybe move my title here, or I could put my title up here. Why don't we do that? Why don't we reverse the pages? It's fine. It wasn't my original plan, but that's okay. Sometimes you just got to go with it. So we will reverse it today. So then I'm going to move my cluster over here though. It kind of knocks off my visual triangle, but that's okay. Yeah, it'll be fine. So now I'll just add these down. So I'm just mimicking the placement on the other side, but you'll see here I have a thicker, or not thicker, a wider panel. So this is a 3x4 photo. So I have a 3x4 block underneath too. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to add this one above. So I actually don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to, though, just because it totally throws off my triangle there, and it was bothering me. But maybe we will instead move our title up to the top here. Nope, you know what, guys? I'm going right back to where I started. Just because of the way I set up my photographs, I don't think I can flip it that much. So this was my original intention. So we're going to go back there. Okay, so I'm going to just show you how I adhered these two pieces together. So like I said, this is just, it's little tiny dots on a sheet. So it's enough adhesive to make this image stick. So you just rub it on the back. But it's, I think it's easier than trying to glue it. And because they are delicate. But then you have adhesive everywhere. So, and like I said, I did cut everything on the mirror image. So make sure whichever color you want showing to be down. So I did, like I said, used the light side of ballerina. And I did that because I knew my mats were on the dark side. And like I had an accent piece here that was going to be on the dark side. And I wanted to show the difference. So then, same thing, I did add shimmer brush all over the flower. So I just put some on my block and I painted it on. And I covered the whole thing so that the whole thing was shimmery. So that also does then give it a different color or tone than the rest of the cardstock pieces that you have down. So it just extends that look of your cardstock that much more, right? On top of there being two sides, right? You have the true tone and then the lighter tone. On top of that, you can alter your cardstock to make it look different, right? So I could have, even if I wanted, used the lighter side as my mats or the darker side as my flower, however you want to look at it. Okay. So there we go. I'm going to pull, we're done with the shimmer trim. So I'm going to pull these off because we don't need them here. Okay, so now we just need to layer in our last little bits here. Yeah, I just could not get it to, yes, you're right. I probably would have noticed, hopefully, by the time I went to go adhere it down. It's funny though too, because I don't know if you, here's a really good tip if you're ever stuck on a layout. If you are stuck on a layout and like you have, like pieced it all together kind of like this, walk away from it for a while. And also the other tip is if you actually look at something upside down, it's helpful. So walk away from it for a while if you're struggling with placement or how to do something, and come back and look at it from the other way. So if I was to come back at my table, right, I would look at it from the top. So you look at it like this. And sometimes what happens is because you're looking at it from a different direction, it becomes extremely apparent as to what you have to change, what is out of place, what's not working. Yeah, so that's a tip. If you're ever having a hard time, you're stuck visually with something, try that. It really does actually work. Okay, so same thing, and you'll see I'm trying to kind of mimic the clusters in certain ways, but switch them up a little bit. So this piece I'm going to lay down here at the bottom, and you will see I'm not going crazy with my adhesive yet. So I want to be able to make sure that that's where I want it, and I'll even like finish this with you guys. And then I'll come back and add more adhesive in places where I need it. So I'm making this title connect with this cluster. So it is going to touch. So like later I'll come in and glue those down where I think they need to be tacked down more. But you guys don't need to watch me do all that. So I'm just kind of piecing them in and getting everything where I want it. And then, like I said, then I'll come back in with like liquid glass or something else to make sure that everything is set and not going to move on me once I lift it up. No different than I said to you, really, the only place I'm putting adhesive on these little things is just right there at that base. It will get sandwiched, but if I need to add more adhesive after, I can. So this is my big piece and this is my smaller piece. So I'm going to put this smaller one on thin 3D foam tape and my bigger piece on the thicker 3D foam tape. So you will notice that when I do the title, because I'm just going to tack it in, and then after I turn the camera off, I'll go back in with my liquid glass and my precision tip and glue down all the spots that might, oh, you enjoy your class, Lee. Then I'll come back in, and if there's anything that needs to be stuck down a little bit more, I can do that at that point. Okay, so now on this one, I'm going to use thicker 3D foam tape. This, I can tell I want up there. So I can actually show you on the title, maybe, how to use that sheet, because that will be a good use of it. Okay. Oh, this one's still wet. That's why I did the other ones first. Now my fingers are all sparkly. Okay, so this is how you actually use these sheets. So this is the sticky side. Like I said, it's just got the little dots. So I can just lay my pieces down on it. Like that. And then just rub it from the back side because the adhesive is on this side. I can't actually see. Oh, here it is. And then now it's sticky. So this will be sticky enough that it'll stay in place, but I can move it a little bit if I need to. Need to make sure I don't put that end back on upside down. Good morning. Okay, and so here you can see I am making my title an extension of that cluster by connecting it in some way. I'm also using the sage as a line, so it makes my title more readable. So now I just have my last letter here. You guys should see my hands. They're so sparkly right now from that wet shimmer brush. Okay, so now it's become an extension of this cluster. I'm also going to bring in the sequins, which will help that. So let's just quickly adhere this last cluster up here, and then we are done. Okay, so because I know I've got it all roughed in, right, I just need to go, I'll move this down a little bit, there we go. Go back in and add my adhesive onto my pieces. And tuck them back where I had them. Right, so I can go back in, because this is also like multi-layers of cardstock. You have to remember it's quite thick. So if I have to, I can add more glue in after, or I can even tack some things down with glue dots. So here we go. Now the last piece is going back up here on thick 3D foam tape, because you guys saw me use the end of my thin, so that's just going to be thick. That's okay. Just saves you having to watch me open a new package of 3D foam tape. And quite often, you guys all know, I will play with layers so that I have different layers. Note it's all the same, right? It's the same as trying to incorporate different textures, different layers, different colors, but bring them all together in a certain way. Okay, so I can move my Versamat out of the way now. Here we go. Now we're just gonna quickly, I know, so the lemon is so stinking cute. I knew I had to use it. I think it would be awesome on like a card also. So too, if you don't want to use the Cricut cuts, this, the Isabella scrapbooking Stampin' Thin Cut would work super well for this too, because you also have a title, right? So you can use the Living Your Best Life as your title. There's a nice thick, life is a big font and stamp, right? And you could just switch it out for these flowers instead. Who knows? You might see me do that yet. Okay, so then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few Bluebell loose sequins, and then we are done. So that's not bad. We're going to be done in an hour. So if anybody needs any of the sketches that you're missing, underneath the comment, I'll come back and add the links in. If anybody's not in Sketch Camp yet that would like to be in Sketch Camp, so next week I'm taking a new sketch that I designed. I'm going to teach it 3 times. So I'm going to teach it once in Wander, once in Isabella, so this, and then once in Party Time. And they're all super cute and all really different. So it's kind of like this. I will be teaching different things in each one. So at the end too, I'll show you the other sketches or other layouts that go with this sketch. So this is only the 3rd time I have, oh, those look so pretty in person here. So there's 2 public sketches at this point. So if you're missing the first one, you can just comment sketch 1. And if you're missing this one, this is sketch 2. So I can send you in the right direction. So I've just pulled out off a piece of the glue dots. These are just the regular glue dots, and I'm adding my sequin to the glue dot and then adding it to my page. And I'll say, like, I think that everybody thought that Isabella had to be like formal or like something over the top, but this is just everyday life here. And it's just fine. Because she's super cute. She can handle the flowers and the lemon competition going on here. So I should normally just dump some into the lid to make the pulling out the different sizes a little bit easier. Woo! Well, or that works. Oh, look at that. So I think I'm going to, a few of the little hearts popped out. So I'm going to add one of those little hearts too. Okay, so here. Here for sure. Careful, you only want your glue dots where you want your glue dots, that's for sure. So see, you can even, some of the loose sequins have shapes in them. So this one, it's hearts. Some of them, they're stars. Okay, we are almost done. You can make anything work for next week's sketch. I think that that's kind of the thing I wanted to show you guys too, is you can make anything work on a sketch by just adapting whatever you're adding to it. right? No different than, I will show you. I think that it all just plays with, when you're playing with different techniques. I should just make my life much easier. There we go. Oops. Okay. So like when I showed like the sketch, the first sketch, when I showed the first sketch, I've taught it 5 times, and I think personally every single time it looks different. Some are more formal and some are more casual. There's different collections in each one. There's a different feel to lots of them depending on what you are using. So totally, I think any sketch, in my opinion, can be adapted. Okay, so the flowers, yes. So the flowers are on white daisy behind them. Sorry, I don't have one that's not adhered together. Oh, wait a second. I'll show you this. Okay, so I'm going to show you the ones that I have in my garbage can beside me. Okay, so these were my first attempts at cutting them. And so like I said, the things that I learned is the bigger that this is, the better. And to cut it in a mirror image. And sorry, one second. Just one sec. Sorry guys, one second. Hi. Sorry, my son never calls, so I'm worried that it's like an emergency. So now I'm gonna totally be off track. So yes, they're white daisy on the back, ballerina on the front. I use the lighter side of ballerina. I cut them with mirror image. So the light side is down versus, and that seemed to help cut them. I did use a fresh mat because they're quite intricate. So he sent me a text now. He's okay. We're all good. So there we go. So now I'm going to just compose myself again and I'll finish. So this is sketch number 2. If you need the sketch, comment sketch 2. If you need sketch 1, comment sketch 1, and I'll come back and add the links in properly. So this is sketch 2. So I'll show you the other times that I've taught it. I'm just going to, yeah, so now he sent me a text that I can see and he's like, I'm okay, just so you know. Because he knows that he just freaked me out. So here's the first time I taught it. Right here. This is him, my little phone caller. So this is the time I taught it with Stars and Sparklers, and this is the original, and so that's what's pictured in the download on the bottom of the sketch. And then I took it and I taught it with the white pines, Bring Back My Pack, and I did more shakers. So when I taught this, I did shaker elements, and then here we did another shaker element with the beads, and you can see I used red glitter paper. We added some vintage look to the layout to make it look like somebody was trying to unwrap their presents early. So I love this one. So this is with the white pines, like I said, and then this is the Stars and Sparklers, and this has the same shaker elements. And I love this one in the middle here. So this is that 3x4 section. I changed it to be the home of the title. of the layout. It says, oh, happy day. And then here's today's version. So no shakers on this one, right? I just used Cricut cuts. So I splattered with Evergreen, and there's some good splattering tips for when you are using a super pigmented shimmer brush, and the little clusters. So that's what I've got for you guys today. So I'll show you sketch number 1, so you'll know if you don't have one of them, you know which one to ask for. So like I said, this is sketch number 2 right here. And then this one was sketch number 1. So I've taught this a few times. So there's layout number 1 with that sketch. And here's another one. So 2. And then here is layout number 3. And layout number 4. So this is what I'm kind of talking about, how like this is super formal. This is this was grad dinner, right? So this is a formal layout versus this is like totally funky flower, casual in a sunflower field, right? So it's all about using the original sketch and changing the feel of the layout. So that was 4. And then this is layout number 5, right? Also in between, this one's in between, I think, casual and formal. But so then this is sketch number 1. So if you need sketch number 1, just comment sketch 1. And if you need a sketch 2, comment sketch 2. And if you are not in sketch camp and want to be, comment camp and I will send you the registration. It's a free online event. You just have to be in the group, and I will not be teaching that sketch outside of that group. So that's what I've got for you guys today, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye guys, have a great day.